Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Leeça podcast, episode 1. What it means to live awake with courage and compassion in a complicated world. I am so glad that you're here. This is the Leeça podcast. This project launches on my birthday. So every year I give myself a challenge, something that stretches me, something that feels worth the next turn around the sun. This year, I turn 55, and I'll be honest, I'm concerned about where we are in the world. I see us becoming numb, desensitized, and divided. I feel how easy it is to slip into cynicism or retreat. Once, I could host big conversations on Facebook, spaces where people with very different views could still listen, laugh, and learn from each other. But that's become harder now. The tone has shifted. The trust has thinned. So this is my challenge, to create a space that reminds us of what makes us human, what unites us, what we can do to remember our shared humanity and protect it fiercely. Not just for me and not just for you, but for our kids and theirs. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more connection, more courage, and more light that we refuse to let go out. I have been a teacher for 30 years plus. I've taught all kinds of kids, some who were headed to university or college, and some who were barely hanging on. And what I learned is this: if you give people the space to reflect and feel respected, they show up with so much more than we expect. That's what I'm hoping for here. My classrooms weren't just places to get grades. They became small communities. We wrote poetry, we told the truth, we brought food, and we celebrated each other. And no matter who they were, farm kids, city kids, hockey players, newcomers, shy kids, rebels, they rose to meet each other with kindness, mainly. And that's what I believe is still possible, even now and even here, especially now. I'm not here to tell you what to think. Far from that. I'm here to ask, what do we think about this thing together? So each episode is part story, part philosophy, part big question. The first episodes will be slightly shorter, around 20 minutes, and they will get progressively longer and more complex. Sometimes they'll be light, and sometimes they'll be a little bit deeper. Sometimes they'll be personal a little bit more, but always there will be a little research, a little history, all kinds of topics woven in. They're not fast takes or hot opinions. They're meant to slow things down. So a little bit about me. I have traveled many places, from coast to coast, all over Canada, through small towns, villages, and cities, by car, by bus, by train, by plane, Europe as well, and the States. I want to travel more. I love people and their stories, and I always have. I'm very curious. Some might say even nosy. I've raised 3 daughters. I've taught thousands of students. I've built businesses. I've rebuilt my life a few times. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. I'm an artist, a teacher, and a writer. But I'm also a work in progress, like you, like all of us. And this podcast grew from that, from years of sitting in rooms where stories were shared, trust was built, and people remembered that they weren't alone. And I think part of that comes from my roots. My mother-in-law was French-Canadian, and she could fill a table like no one else. The screen door would open and one person would come in and sit down, and another, and we would gather for Sunday dinners in her kitchen. She would work all week making food and put it all in the freezer, and tourtière and mashed potatoes and all kinds of wonderful desserts. The hockey game would be on, and we would gather. And I always loved that about the French culture, the Francophone culture. There was always more food than we needed. And that's where I learned the kind of hospitality that's about presence and not perfection. It's about seeing people and hearing them and making space for them. And that's the spirit I hope to carry into this space. There are a lot of loud voices out there right now. It's easy to feel like we have to pick a side and stick to it. But life is rarely that clean. So here we're going to make room for the gray. Some episodes are going to be more personal, as I said. Others are going to bring in stories from history, science, philosophy, culture. I'm a bit of a nerd. And we're going to add references to all kinds of authors that I have loved and picked up along the way. I might reference people like Viktor Frankl or Leonard Cohen lyric or a childhood memory of some music that used to come out of my father's truck radio. What ties them all together is this: a desire to understand what it means to live well, with our feet on the ground and our hearts intact, and what it means to stay human, not just online, but in our towns, our families, and our friendships. Because what we build between us matters more than anything else right now. So here's what you can expect each week. I am wanting to be very consistent in the way that I do things. So over this summer in Newfoundland, I wrote the scripts for these. I've been rewriting and rewriting and rewriting because I don't want to waste your time. I want the time that we share together to be valuable to you. I know your time is valuable and I don't want to waste it. So I wanted to be thoughtful and I wanted to be, that's why I took time scripting these. Eventually I might do a podcast with other guests. I would love that. But for now, for this season, it will be me reflecting, writing, reflecting, and thinking, and bringing you something on Sundays. So every Sunday, there will be a new episode, audio only, so you can listen while you're walking or in your kitchen. There will be a written post that I will drop on that Sunday as well, with some questions that you can think about. If you like, you can write about them. You can think about them. I will be writing about them as well. And they will be available on Substack, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm getting pretty tech, social media savvy. And so you can subscribe to all of those if you like. And then on Facebook Live, I will be doing a Facebook Live on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. where we can kind of unpack those themes together. I have created events on Facebook. Right now, the Facebook for this, the Leeça podcast is called The Courageous Life, but the name will be changing over the next month or so to the Leeça podcast. And the Facebook Live will be aired both on my personal Facebook. So if you're there with me on my personal Facebook, it will be there, and on The Courageous Life for now. And you can engage if you like. The idea is to create a community sense of seeing me live, like I'm not some kind of just talking voice. And I'll be unpacking that week's theme. And if you want to participate, you can. It's very free. And then once a month, I'm hoping to create a monthly video from my table. I have a studio here, more of an art studio, but it's also become a recording studio. And so I'm going to be picking books from my shelves and doing a little video, something a bit more intimate and slowed down. This isn't about shouting over each other. It's about building trust, hopefully, a new kind of community, a space where we get to remember who we are, and we are open and ready to tackle some big topics. And it's also about who we still want to be. This isn't about me going viral, but hey, if you want to spread the word, I'd love that. Or being flashy. I'm a low tech kind of person, so you might even hear a buddy once in a while in the background. And I also have Abby living here with me. I live in Quebec City now in a beautiful apartment. Once in a while, someone passes by in the hallway, and hopefully it won't happen too often. I've had to do many retakes of even this first episode, so we'll see. It's about growing something rooted and real. Coming up, there's all kinds of episodes. I did drop a bunch of topics on Facebook, so if you're looking for like a what's going to be happening in this series, I've got 37 episodes written and hopefully more to come. Well, no, definitely more to come. I'm thinking of writing pretty much consistently as we go. I still teach at Quebec High School as an art teacher, so I do that part-time. And I'll be adding more episodes so that we have a full year of episodes this year. Some episodes, why we numb, what it means to speak joy in dark times, how we recognize manipulation and keep our minds free, the courage it takes to say no gently, and what we inherit from our families that we didn't ask for. So these aren't easy topics, but they matter. We're going to talk about trauma, hope, media, loss, friendships, love, systems, and the stories that shape us. And always, always what it means to be human. So a final note, you don't have to agree with everything I say. In fact, I hope you don't. I hope it sparks your own questions. This space is for people from all walks of life, young or old, my students, my former students, adults. I'm hoping it's going to reach anyone around the world. They should be able to identify with something that I'm talking about because we're all human. Working class, university bound, uncertain, or outspoken. So whether you're walking through grief, waking up to a new chapter, or just trying to figure out what's next, there's space for you here. You're invited to my table because I believe the only way forward is together. I'm trying to imagine while I speak these that I'm across the table from a bunch of people, that I would have invited for dinner. So that's kind of the attitude I'm going with. Yes, these are scripted, but I'm trying to also work in very much who I am. And so a little improv along the way. We're going to try. Not with groupthink, but with real community, with dialogue, curiosity, and the courage to stay at the table even when it's hard. So before we close, here's a question to carry into your week. What part of you have you been silencing that's asking to be heard? What part of you have you been silencing that's asking to be heard? These are the brave, courageous conversations. It might be a whisper, it might be loud, but listen. It starts with listening internally, I think, being aware of the things that we're not saying that we could be saying that would be brave. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And so that's where the conversation begins, with ourselves and then going outwards, I think. So thank you for being here. It's a shorter opening. It's my launch. If something in this conversation speaks to you, I'd love to hear from you. If you have ideas that you'd like me to talk about, just send me a message. Share the podcast. If you feel like this is something that a friend would enjoy listening to, I would love that. Of course, I would love to grow the reach of this podcast. And join me on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. It will be launching on the 19th. So the first Sunday after that, and then after that, the Wednesdays. Until then, be gentle with yourself. We're all just walking each other home. Now, next time, we're going to talk about this. Next time will be my first actual episode. We're going to talk about what happens when we drift apart from each other, from our communities, and even from ourselves, and how that disconnection shapes the world that we live in. And so if this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, right? Subscribe to the Leeça podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. You can find the reflections and weekly questions over on Substack at theleeçapodcast.substack.com. And if you do subscribe, you will get a little email every time I post something on Substack. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. You just search out the Leeça Podcast. Until next time, keep your mind clear, your heart open, and your courage intact. Thank you for listening.